Hi, I'm Dr. Seth E, and we are going to be discussing another common error with student manuscripts and research proposals. Um, and today we're going to be focusing on common writing corrections. So again, this is 5 to 6 years of teaching research methods classes at 4 different higher education institutions, as well as conducting research myself and writing peer-reviewed academic publications. So here's a common error that I see is a student does not use paragraphs. Please enter paragraphs. You can see here in the text where I've highlighted in yellow where it might be a good spot to add paragraphs, but nobody wants to read a full page of text. Obviously this should be double spaced for APA, but you get the idea. Next, in academic writing, you do not want to use definitive terms such as this study proves this, or the results of this study has proven this. Don't use the words never, proves nothing. Not one study does not prove anything. So remove that out of your papers. So here's an example. Jenny proved that static stretching is better than dynamic stretching. You can say this study, the findings indicated that static stretching, being more specific, but don't use proved. Don't write things that are biased, such as it was interesting that, and then when you report on a specific study, you can say something like of note, but try to remove biased language. When reporting on a journal article's findings, this is semantics, but when you're reading text that is written, Smith did not say anything unless you're talking about a qualitative study where the authors actually quoted. Henry didn't mention anything, or they don't talk about. Use the terms noted, reported, findings indicated, or included that. But these people did not say anything. This is written text. Academic writing is very formal, so do not use terms such as I or your or my. Remove those. You can say one may find that if you need to use a phrasing like that, but don't use the informal language. Try to make the writing as concise as you can, and a lot of times that is trying to embed several components of what you want to cover within the same sentence. So try to remove any types of words that you can still get the same point across. So for example, I'll get students that will write in one study conducted by, or an article published by, go right into talking about the study. So in a study involving, and then we go talking about the participants and some demographics about the participants, what their ages were. Smith found that. So if you can, make it more concise. Another thing that I will see in some student papers is that they talk about a study and they begin by telling me the title of the journal article. That's TMI, too much information, don't want to know it. That's why there's a reference list. I can go and look at Epstein in the reference list and I can see what the title of the article is. So do not put the titles of the entire articles because they tend to be long anyway. I don't want to know that. Unnecessary language continued. So try not to use the phrase, it must be said that. You can use transition statements like however, conversely, a lot more concise, to the point. Some people tend to have a issue of knowing the difference between the apostrophe in whether it's used or not. So if you're just talking about the participants, then you don't need an apostrophe. If you're talking possessions, such as the participants' homes were located in a city, then you'd have that apostrophe. When you are summarizing an article, you certainly do not have to include all of these items. However, this is almost like an abstract. You're wanting to synthesize the literature, and so what you'd want to try to avoid is talking about one study in isolation and then talking about another study in isolation and then talking about another study in isolation. Try to look at themes. Maybe some of the studies used similar demographic of participants, and you might discuss that. Maybe studies had similar findings, and so you discuss that. Maybe some studies were performed in similar geographic locations. Maybe you combine that information. It really is depend on your topic, but when you're wanting to discuss a study, here's some of the things that you want to do. Is maybe talk about the purpose of the study, who the sample was, what the procedures or methods were, what the results / conclusions were, and if there's any implications. But what I'll see sometimes is some students will simply just throw out a study and just say what the conclusion of the study was, so go straight to here, when I have no idea what the purpose of the study was, who the sample was. And I recommend, if you're trying to elaborate on a study, especially if it's sort of relevant but not really close to what your topic is, then try to cover some of this information in the same sentence. So maybe in the sample and in the study purpose, you try to put that into the same sentence. Try to write concisely. All right, so now we're talking about introduction, or actually, yeah, anywhere in a literature review or an introduction, don't make claims without citation support. Okay, so somebody might say, oh, everybody knows that obesity is the #1 health concern in the United States today. You can't do that in academic writing. You have to use a citation. So if you cite the CDC 2013, then I'm going to believe that statement. If you just write this, I'm not believing you. Support continued. Another incorrect example. Very few studies have investigated undulating periodization. Okay. You can use this sentence if you go into and discuss several different studies that have used that type of training. However, what you might do is, if you can't have this as a standalone sentence, but if you're saying very few studies, then what are those few studies? If you don't go into talking about those studies individually, then you need to have a citation for that. So make sure that when you're making any claims that you have citations. Don't just assume that the reader knows, because they don't. Another incorrect example, many studies show that co-ed physical education classes have more behavior problems. Again, you can't have just that as a standalone sentence. You need to have citation support. Lastly, I want to just let you look at a few examples of some transition statements that you might want to use when you're discussing other studies and other researchers in a literature review, or in your introduction. You can maybe take some screenshots of this. But here's some examples for contrasting from one study to the other if the results are different. If they have similar results, then here's some ideas for in addition to. Other words for example, if you're talking about some things that happen in time or in place, here some examples. Another way is the phrase in conclusion, sequencing, or something appeared to be this or that, because a lot of times academic writing is not written in definitive terms. You write this may result in this, or so it's a little bit more vague. And here's some other adverbs for talking about. Remember I said not to use said, but using some of these types of terms would be more appropriate in academic writing. So those are some common writing errors, corrections that I've seen with student papers, and I hope that this will help strengthen your proposal or literature review.